Welcome back to another episode of No Shame with Shane. I'm your host, Shane Fordham, with all the shameless sports takes. Now, I'm looking at my division right now, and I'm thinking it's hard for me to think that the Eagles can't make history this year and be the first team in the NFC East to win the division back to back. Like, I'm looking at what's going on in my division right now, and I don't see how the Eagles don't have another historic year and be the first team to win the division back to back. Like the Cowboys playing around with Micah Parsons requesting a trade. The Commanders playing around with Terry McLaurin requesting a trade. Like, I don't see how the Eagles don't have another historic year. I mean, they're already the youngest team to ever win the Super Bowl. They already have the record for most points scored in a postseason. They already have the record for one of the only teams to beat their opposing team in the Super Bowl without having to blitz the quarterback one single time. I'm looking at what's going on in my division right now, and I'm thinking it's hard for me to believe my Birds won't have another historic year by winning the division back to back, the first team in the division to do so. Because I'm looking at the Cowboys, I'm looking at the Commanders. If both of these guys do not play for their respective teams, they're both two different teams. Like the Cowboys and the Commanders are a totally different team without Micah Parsons and Terry McLaurin. Totally different team. Like, and it's honestly dumb on the ownership's part. Like putting these guys in the position that they are in now, allowing the contract negotiations to get to this point, it's honestly dumb on the ownership's part. I mean, looking at Micah Parsons specifically, like Micah Parsons definitely has a case for top 5 player in the league, not top 5 defender, top 5 overall player in the NFL. How his dominance, his versatility, everything, his production, like could easily have a case for top 5 player in the NFL, who is also young, not even still in his prime, mid-20s. It boggles my mind that this guy is going through what he's going through in Dallas. Since he's been drafted in 2021, never had a season where he had under 12 sacks. In 2024, the least amount of sacks he's ever had was 12. In 2021, he had 13 sacks. In 2022, he had 13 and a half sacks. In 2023, he had 14 sacks. This past season, he has 12 sacks. 2-time All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler. Like, this is not a guy that should be fighting for a contract. This is not a guy that should be fighting for a contract. If Myles Garrett can get paid, if TJ Watt can get paid, if Max Crosby can get extended, there's no reason why Micah Parsons should not be signing a contract right now. There's no reason. There's no reason. It's honestly done. Like Jerry Jones doesn't even seem like he's trying to win games right now. Like he honestly doesn't even try to seem like he's winning games. Like, and the thing is that Micah Parsons probably isn't going anywhere. But if you know you're gonna sign him anyway, why delay it? Like if you know you're locking this guy down, and for good reason, why jump through all these hoops and just piss him off on the way to what you were already going to do to begin with? Like, why piss him off if you plan on signing him anyway? Like, you got enough problems as it is in the Dallas organization. You got enough issues as it is. You got a quarterback that can't win playoff games. You just picked up a receiver who is liable to get you a penalty at least. I mean, at least one. Maybe he's a risk to get you a penalty every game. You got a O-line that is now very young. You know, lost their Pro Bowl, All-Pro guys to either the free agency or retiring in Tyron Smith and Zach Martin. Like you got a lot of different issues on this squad to now have to worry about your best player now being upset and not wanting to be on your team anymore. Like, I honestly, Jerry Jones has no excuse for having Micah Parsons jump through these hoops and deal with this unnecessary obstacles and struggle to signing a new deal. Like, Jerry Jones has no excuse for not paying Micah right now. He has no excuse for not paying Micah. Adam Peters can at least say Terry McLaurin is getting up there in age. Adam Peters can at least say, well, we have our franchise quarterback. It's not going to be hard. It's not going to be too hard to maybe get another guy in free agency. We can always sign Amari Cooper out of free agency. Jalen Lane looks good in training camp right now. Maybe a mix of our young guys with an added Debo can sort of make up for that production law that we would lose out in not having Terry next year. Adam Peters can at least say some of now I don't agree, but Adam Peters has an excuse as to why he hasn't paid Terry yet. Jerry Jones has no excuse as to why he has not paid Micah Parsons yet. Now, both guys are elite. Don't get me wrong. Both guys are elite. But Micah Parsons is a top 5 player in the NFL who is still in his mid-20s, has a long career ahead of him. Adam Peters can at least say Terry McLaurin is up there in age. We still have a franchise. We still have a franchise quarterback in Jaden Daniels. We still have supplementary weapons to use on this offense without Terry. But then we also have the option to go shopping in free agency if we want to for guys that we can get signed to a 1-year deal who can come in as playmakers and starters. Jerry Jones has no excuse because there is no excuse. There is no making up for an elite talent like Micah Parsons. There is no making up for a top 3 defender in the NFL in Micah Parsons. There is no supplementary piece that you can bring in that you can develop guys who are already on the roster who could grow into that role. You don't have any of that. The Cowboys don't have any of that. So Jerry Jones has no excuse. Now, on the Commander side, not paying Terry McLaurin is still dumb to me. Not paying Terry McLaurin is still idiotic to me because of, one, everything that Terry McLaurin has been for this Commanders team. Everything that Terry McLaurin has been for this Commanders team. This Commanders organization has been an atrocity in the NFL since they drafted RG3. Since after they drafted RG3. Since that whole collapse and debacle, RG3 getting hurt, the Redskins / Commanders fans had hope, for a year or two. It's been downhill since then. It's been downhill. Like, Terry McLaurin, since he was drafted in 2019, has been the only bright spot, the only bit of consistency that this team has had since they've drafted him. Since even before they drafted him. Terry McLaurin has been the only positive of this team, no matter how bad the team has looked. Terry McLaurin has at least given the Commanders / Redskins organization something to talk about. Something fans can actually be proud of and talk about was the fact that they had an elite wide receiver in Terry McLaurin. But then something else that gets me is no matter how bad the team was, no matter how poorly the team was run, no matter how poor the ownership was of the team, Terry McLaurin never once complained. He never once had any public outbursts or issues. He was never a bad teammate. He was never a bad presence on the team. But most importantly, his production never wavered. His production never wavered. This man, Terry McLaurin, had 13 different quarterbacks throw him the ball from behind the pocket. 13 different quarterbacks in a Redskins / Commanders uniform throwing him the ball. And he only has one season where he has had under 1,000 receiving yards, and that was his rookie year. All the quarterbacks that have been his starting QB, that have been his QB1, Carson Wentz, Taylor Heineke, Jacoby Brissett, an old Alex Smith, Sam Howell, he wasn't even that bad of a quarterback, just never had a chance to really produce at an above average level. Ryan Fitzpatrick, all of the quarterbacks Terry McLaurin has had during his tenure in Washington, he has still proven to be an elite receiver regardless of who was throwing him the ball. Regardless of who was throwing him the ball. Terry McLaurin is arguably the most underrated receiver in the NFL because aside from this past season with Jaden Daniels, he has never had an above average quarterback. He's never had an above average quarterback who could get him the ball consistently enough, get him the ball in enough spots, get him the ball at a successful enough rate to have his production up there with the AJs of the world, with the Jamars of the world, with the Jay Jettas of the world. He never had a quarterback other than this year that could match his talent. Now that he finally has that quarterback, the Commanders don't want to pay him. Adam Peters doesn't want to pay him. Not paying Terry McLaurin is almost as bad as the Giants letting Saquon Barkley walk for a bag of chips last season. Not as bad, almost as bad. Almost as bad, because at least if they are to trade Terry McLaurin, they would be getting something back in return for him. So automatically makes it a little better than the Saquon situation. And they most likely won't be trading Terry McLaurin to the Eagles. They most likely won't be trading Terry McLaurin to the Eagles or any other team in the NFC East. So it would be hard for this to be as bad as the Saquon Barkley debacle by the New York Giants, but it's honestly close because of how elite Terry McLaurin has been during his time in Washington, how much he has done for this team. Terry McLaurin honestly has a similar role, or has had a similar role for this Commanders team as what Saquon Barkley had for the Giants. Was really the only thing that was keeping them somewhat relevant. The only bright spot, or the main bright spot of the squad that kept the team just above water, just above the rebuilding phase, just above dumpster fire. Kept them somewhat relevant. Somewhat. It honestly makes no sense to me. Terry McLaurin is really the foundation of Commanders football. He's honestly the foundation. And honestly, I would say Terry McLaurin is more of the glue, is definitely the glue of the team. If you take, Terry McLaurin was the glue of the Commanders' success last year. Jaden Daniels came in, was great. Definitely what that organization needs. A franchise quarterback, a future superstar, a guy who could definitely be a top 5 to top 3 quarterback in the league someday. But Terry McLaurin was the glue of that team last season and has been since he's been drafted. Because if you take Terry McLaurin off that squad last year, Jaden Daniels isn't having that same type of season. The Commanders aren't having that same type of season without Terry McLaurin. You take Terry out of that system. Jaden Daniels has a much tougher adjustment period transitioning to the NFL than he actually ended up having. Having Terry McLaurin on the squad, it allowed Jaden Daniels to, for the most part, have a smooth transition to the NFL. If you take Terry McLaurin off the Commanders, Jaden Daniels has a Caleb Williams year this year. It's very likely, without Terry McLaurin last season, Jaden Daniels has a Caleb Williams year. He definitely doesn't get Offensive Rookie of the Year. I don't think Jaden Daniels plays at an Offensive Rookie of the Year caliber level without Terry McLaurin. And not to say that Jaden Daniels is not that guy. Not to say that he was only successful because of Terry McLaurin. I just think that when you have a talented quarterback, when you give a talented quarterback an elite receiver like Terry McLaurin, good things happen. You take Terry away, Jaden Daniels definitely has a tougher rookie season, especially when you take into account that how bad the offensive line was last year, aside from Sam Cosmi. You take into account that it was, without Terry McLaurin, a very one-dimensional offense, it being very run-heavy. Like, it's honest. Like, there's no way the Commanders do what they do last season without Terry. And honestly, this season, if you take Terry out of that offense, it's a totally different team. It's a totally different team. If you take Terry McLaurin out of this offense, this Commanders team could honestly just erase everything they did last season. It's a totally different team. Like, Terry McLaurin is the difference between the Commanders being 12-5 on the season and finishing 5-12. Terry McLaurin is definitely the difference when it comes to those close games, those shootout games, those gotta have it moments. Like, think about how many close games the Commanders pulled off last year. Think about how many close games they had last year. If you don't have that deep threat attack between Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin, Commanders are losing 4 to 5 more of their games last year than what they did. Four of those dubs, 4 to 5 of their dubs last season are L's without Terry McLaurin. Like, if you take, like, honestly, not paying Terry McLaurin this year honestly makes last season a waste. Like, it honestly, it undoes everything that the Commanders were able to accomplish last year. Not paying Terry McLaurin this year negates what the Commanders were able to accomplish last year. It negates the progress that they made last season, the statement that they made last season, proving themselves, making a statement as being now a true contender in the NFL, especially out of the NFC. Not paying Terry McLaurin negates all of that, because you don't replicate what you did last season, let alone surpass what you did last season without Terry McLaurin. You don't beat the Lions without Terry McLaurin. You don't beat the Bears without Terry McLaurin. You don't beat the Eagles without Terry McLaurin. You don't beat the Bucs in the playoffs without Terry McLaurin. Like, everything that the Commanders accomplished last year could easily be negated if Adam Peters doesn't pay Terry McLaurin this offseason. And honestly, looking at Jaden Daniels, just looking at Terry McLaurin's impact on the offense as a whole, everything on the offense is different without Terry McLaurin. Jaden Daniels is more like, not paying Terry McLaurin, not having Terry McLaurin a part of this offense this year. Like, it makes Jaden Daniels more susceptible to a sophomore slump. It makes the offense more one-dimensional, because now defenses can just key on the run game with the Commanders not having a true solidified deep threat. You don't have to worry about Debo in deep thirds of the field. Jalen Lane, while he has been raising eyebrows in training camp, has been having a successful training camp, impressing people with his speed. He is not proven. Luke McCaffrey is a work in progress. And Noah Brown is decent. Like, you don't have any receivers on this offense that are scaring a defense. Therefore, you're making it harder for your now franchise quarterback in Jaden Daniels to find holes in the defense, to move the ball through the air. And that therefore also makes it harder for him to use his legs when he finds his moment, because that's what the defenses are expecting. That's what the defense are keying in on, is either Jaden Daniels using his legs or Austin Eckler, B-Rob, or Jeremy McNichols getting the ball from behind the line of scrimmage. Like, you take Terry out of this offense, the whole dynamic that this offense had last season is thrown off. The whole dynamic. Like, this is a one-dimensional offense without Terry McLaurin. Having Terry McLaurin in the scheme, having him on the field, makes everyone better. Makes everyone better. He stretches out the field, so now Debo can cook and can play his game in short yardage, in those catch and run situations, in those check down passes, in the screen passes, screen formation, screen calls. You know, even motions or jet sweeps behind the line of scrimmage. Having Terry McLaurin stretches the field for young guys like Jalen Lane to find holes and seams in the defense, to be able to make plays. Young guys like Luke McCaffrey to be able to find holes on third down. Allows Zach Ertz to be as secure of a third down, secure as a third down option as he was last season. Having Terry McLaurin allows Zach Ertz to be as big of a security blanket on third down as he was last season. Having Terry McLaurin stretch the field allows the run game to thrive. It allows Brian Robinson Jr. to find lanes against the defense. It allows Austin Eckler to be more of a dual threat running back, where now defenses have to worry about him as a ball carrier, but also as a pass catcher. It allows Jaden Daniels to have more freedom behind the line of scrimmage. It allows him to have more breathing room behind the line of scrimmage, where he can actually make plays more consistently with his arm, but also have the freedom to use his legs, because defenses are playing back to account for Terry McLaurin. Having Terry McLaurin on the field does so much for this offense. And honestly, taking him out of the offense now, just as the Commanders and Jaden Daniels are building a rhythm, especially offensively, would be a tragic mistake. A tragic mistake. Like, honestly, I look at this Commanders team without, like I said, Terry McLaurin is the difference between the Commanders going 12-5 this year and them going 5-12. I think the Commanders at the most win 5 games without Terry McLaurin. The Commanders don't win more than 5 games without Terry McLaurin. I honestly, and I'm looking at Micah and Terry McLaurin, like, looking at their respective situations, I think Micah Parsons is definitely the more valuable player, but I think the Cowboys win more games without Micah than the Commanders win games without Terry. Like, Terry McLaurin is the difference between the Commanders being a playoff team this year and them really just being in a position to tank for next season's draft. Like, I'm looking at their schedule right now. I think the Commanders, week 1, I think they beat the Giants at home. I think they lose to the Packers on the road in Green Bay. Jordan Love with one of the more underrated receiving groups in the NFL, highlighted by Jaden Reed. You got, I think they beat the Raiders at home. I think they lose to the Falcons. I think they definitely lose to the Falcons. They barely beat the Falcons last season, and that was with Terry in a shootout. Jaden Daniels versus Michael Penix Jr. Terry McLaurin, Jaden Daniels and Terry versus Michael Penix and Drake London. They barely won with Terry. I don't think they beat the Falcons without Terry. The Chargers, that could very well be an L, especially with Keenan Allen just coming. With Keenan Allen, they just picked up Keenan Allen too. I think that's definitely an L without Terry. You give Justin Herbert, you get Justin Herbert his number one receiver back. Now putting Ladd McConkey in a position where he is now a receiver too could really be one of the best number two receivers in the NFL this year, coming off the year he had. With the run game that they have, with behind that O-line that they have, I think that's definitely an L against the Chargers. I think they lose to the Bears. They almost lost to the Bears with Terry last year. If it wasn't for, like, you don't get that Hail Mary miracle touchdown pass and catch with Jaden Daniels and Noah Brown without Terry McLaurin being on the field. If you don't have Terry McLaurin stretching out the field, the Commanders don't get that miracle touchdown to win that game. They don't, because Terry McLaurin has all the attention. Terry McLaurin had all the attention. That's where the Bears just knew the ball was going to Terry. The Commanders don't beat the Bears like that in that type of a shootout game without Terry. I think they split with the Cowboys. They definitely lose to the Chiefs. That goes without saying. I think they lose to the Seahawks with how dominant their defense was last year, at least to start off the season. I don't think this Commanders offense outplays that defense without Terry. I think they definitely lose to a healthy Lions team. This isn't the injured Lions team they saw last year. This will be a healthy Lions team with Aiden Hutchinson back in the fold. Without Terry, I think that's an L. I think they beat the Dolphins. I think they beat the Dolphins in Miami. I think they lose to the Broncos, another elite defense with the best cornerback in the NFL in Patrick Surtain. He's going to be locking up Debo, whether he's on Debo, whether he's on Jalen Lane, whether he's on Luke McCaffrey, it straps. With a D-line that was top 5 in sacks last season. I think they lose to the Vikings, another D-line that was top 5 in sacks last season, with the secondary that they have, with the offense that they have on the other side that can easily outscore that Commanders offense. That's a team that was capable of outscoring this Commanders offense with Terry. They're not winning that game without Terry. I think they lose to the Giants in New York. I think they split with the Giants. They definitely lose to the Birds. 100% lose to the Birds. That goes without saying. I think, like I said, they split with the Cowboys. Then I think I think they'll beat the Birds the last game of the season, but that's only because the Eagles will be sitting their starters by that point. The Eagles would have locked up first seed in the NFC. Jalen, Saquon, AJ, Devontae, Jahan, all the Dallas Goedert, all the starters are sitting that game. So I'll give that to the Commanders just off the fact that the Eagles won't even be taking that game seriously. So looking at that schedule, the Commanders finished this year 5-12 without Terry McLaurin. They finished the year 5-12 without Terry McLaurin. I think without Micah, the Cowboys at least win 6. I think without Micah Parsons, the Cowboys at least win 6 games on their schedule. Like, the Commanders this year really have one of the toughest schedules in the NFL. Without Terry, there's no way the Commanders are even close to replicating what they did last season this year. There's no way. Now, with Terry, it's a different story. Different story. But there's no way the Commanders are doing anything close to what they did last year, let alone making the playoffs without Terry McLaurin. But that's all for today's edition of No Shame with Shane. If you haven't already, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media platforms, and I will be back later on with more shameless takes.